Well, hello and welcome to another guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and I am excited for our guest today. Um, we've had a lot of people walk through the door that talk about marketing, talk about how you can grow your firm. Yes, today will be a marketing podcast. So, uh, some of you are going to turn it off right now. No, everyone wants to know how to get more customers. So, stay tuned, listen to this episode because guaranteed there's going to be something that's said that you haven't heard before. That always happens no matter how many times we talk about the same things over and over again. Today it's going to be Google, SEO, PPC, LSAs. We're going to be talking about everything Google marketing. If you don't think Google marketing is for you, stay tuned and listen. If you think it's for you, you've been failing at it, stay tuned and listen. If you're succeeding beyond your wildest dreams with Google marketing, that's awesome. Let my team know. We'd love to have you on the podcast and talk about it. All right, let's talk to you about who we have today. His name is Sasha Berson. Sasha is a serial entrepreneur with a 20-plus year track record, advisor to numerous law firm owners, best-selling co-author with Steve Forbes, and a speaker. Among early successes, Sasha co-founded the nation's 15th largest wholesale lending operation, over $5 billion in funding. Now he's focused exclusively on leading his team to help 2,000 small law firm owners double their revenue in 3 years or less. I love companies that have a goal of like, I want to help X number of people achieve X result. I always wonder what happens when you hit that number. Do you shut your firm down or do you change it? Anyway, we can ask Sasha that question. But Sasha, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Moshe. It's great to be here.
And it's my pleasure having you. Before we get started, I always start with, hey, my audience doesn't know who you are. Let's tell them a little bit about yourself. So give us the backstory, give us a little bit of your personal brand story. Sasha, how in the world did you end up here?
That's a great question. So I was always very entrepreneurial. In fact, I started making money back in Soviet Union. I'm dating myself a little bit here. When I was 12 years old, and I just never stopped. I never asked my parents for allowance. I was just always plugging along, and I was always plugging along in my own businesses. I came to US when I was 15. It's a funny story. I was making very decent money when I was 15 back in Russia, and I came to US, and I found that the land of opportunity had no opportunities for 15-year-old to make money. This is back in the 90s. So the first opportunity I had to start my own business here, I did. That was in 2000. It wasn't financial services. It was just a partner of mine and we blew that business up. As you mentioned earlier, it became nation largest, 15th largest wholesale lending operation many years later. Um, I loved operating businesses. Once it grew to a certain size, I didn't feel very challenged. Was stressed out and not very challenged. So I sold that business. And because I knew how to build businesses by then, I started advising small business owners how to make their businesses grow faster, bigger, and do so more profitably and with less stress. In the process of consulting them, what I learned was that teaching people how to do things is not enough. Many a times you have to actually help them get those things done. The major obstacle to growth in all of small businesses was just about always marketing. This is when I conceived the idea that I want to start a marketing company, but I quickly understood just what it would take to start a marketing business. So for years, I was on the lookout for opportunity to buy an existing sizable operation, marketing operation that was doing things right. And the reason why I was so focused on buying something that was doing things right, because marketing has zero barrier to entry. There are a ton of really bad players out there. And I learned it firsthand in my first business when I was hiring and firing marketing companies. And most of them were just god awful. So I wanted to buy a company with a reputation that knew how to do things right and did it with honor. That really, really mattered to me. So when I came across this brand, I quickly made a decision that I would buy it, actually part of the company. And this is my fourth business. And I've been doing this for nearly 6 years. In 2 weeks, it will be 6 years since I bought into this business. And getting up in the morning and doing this has given me a ton of joy for the last 6 years. It's not without challenges, but I love marketing business because it makes such a huge difference for our clients like I've never seen before. All of my previous businesses were somewhat transactional. This one is very relational. Our clients are with us for years, and it makes real difference in their lives, finances. It makes real difference in their families' lives. It makes real difference in their employees' lives. So that's the backstory.
Sasha, I love the story that you share. Even embracing the fact that, hey, I didn't start this from the beginning. I bought
Nope.
it from somebody and just took it over. But the mission is something that I'm bought into. The mission of helping people and making their lives easier and helping their children go to college and all that. Like that lights me up, and fires me up every morning when I go into work. Love that about you and about what you're doing. But let's get down to the brass tacks. Okay, so my audience base, small law firms. We had a funny conversation at the beginning as to how we define small law firms. Your definition of it is a firm with 10 attorneys or less, is a small law firm. So that's who you serve in the marketplace. I want to talk about who is ready or not ready to do Google advertising. Before we even talk about the nuances of it, one of the things I've noticed with my clients is that, first of all, a lot of them are scathed by having spent thousands of dollars every month for an SEO company. And I'm putting it in quotes with my fingers for those of
Yep.
you not on YouTube and on the podcast, because we also put our podcasts on YouTube, so you could be watching it there. But on camera, I'm putting it in quotes. Um, there's so many people who are spending thousands of dollars a month on SEO, and then when somebody else comes in and evaluates what was done, they were simply writing a check every month and there was nothing being done, right? There's really limited work behind the scenes as far as optimizing them for SEO. And to the layman, like, I don't know how to measure, I don't know how to tell whether the SEO work is being done, because if we haven't achieved number one on the search page, as far as I'm concerned, we haven't achieved the result. But I keep getting told, don't worry, we're working on it. It'll happen eventually, but eventually may never happen. In the meantime, you're continuing to pay. So, my question is, how much does somebody need to be able to spend? How long do they have to spend that for to properly? Because in your bio, your intro, you said that you want to work with people who are willing to work with somebody on a consistent basis, who are going to be lifetime clients. What is the length of time and the investment required for somebody to start to really see results from Google SEO, PPC, your whole world that you work in? Because I think that if somebody's not financially in a position to do that for the length of time required, that's a barrier to entry for them.
So I am going to answer a non-legal question with a legal answer, and the answer is it depends.
Of course.
Specifically for SEO, it really depends. For pay-per-click advertising and local service ads advertising or LSA advertising, it does not depend. It's very formulaic. Let me break down my answer into a few parts. Number one, and I want to explain why to us 10 attorney or smaller law firm is a small law firm. Clio did a study years ago, I believe 2019, when they actually surveyed thousands of law firms, and they determined that a third of all law firms are solos. Another third of all law firms is 2 to 10 attorneys. And another third is everything above it. Lawyers who work for governments, lawyers who work for AM 200, lawyers that usually work in larger entities, and they couldn't really break down that segment. So to us, 2/3 or 67% of all lawyers work in very small law firms. By definition, by US government definition, if your operation is under $50 million, you are a small business. Vast majority of small law firms fit that definition. But for us, like if you're operating 10 attorney or smaller law firm, you're probably somewhere under $3 million in gross revenue. And you're a very small business. And you, as a leader of that business, probably wear numerous hats. One of those hats is you have to make decisions that are directly focused on growing your business, which starts with marketing and followed by intake or sales, as the rest of the world would address it. Now, who is ready? Who is not ready? And which people should disqualify themselves from spending money on advertising on Google and SEO. we are typically focused on B2C attorneys, those that practice law with consumers, with regular folks, not with businesses. The reason for that is all things SEO, all things that happen on Google and Bing, search engines, depend on how much search volume there is. Based on a similar study by Clio, again, going back 4, 5, 6 years ago, they determined that roughly 78% of all people, when needing an attorney, will end up searching for an attorney online. They may be asking for referrals, but they will still go to search engines and will look for attorney online. This applies especially to consumers. When you need a criminal defense attorney or estate planning attorney or personal injury attorney or family law attorney or immigration attorney, there's a very high probability that you're going to end up searching online. If you need a corporate law attorney, the probability is diminished significantly. Is there a search for business attorneys? Absolutely. We have numerous clients that do business law, but it's significantly less than when it comes to consumer type of law, like the practice areas that I mentioned. Here's who is ready and who is not ready to do SEO and PPC and LSA. Let's start with SEO. SEO is a long-term game. If you're just starting out, and every member of my sales team must tell the truth that if you are just starting out, your website is fresh, or you don't have a website, or you have never done SEO and you have very few reviews on Google, depending on how competitive your field is, your practice area is, and where you're located geographically, it may take quarters before you see any results. When they say quarters, it's a year plus. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in a quarter. You should be prepared to make this investment long-term. It is very similar to someone who is looking to get into shape. Someone who is looking to lose 10 pounds versus someone who is looking to lose 80 pounds. For someone who is looking to lose 10 pounds, they can do it quickly. 80 pounds is going to take significantly longer. If you have been doing SEO well or not well for years, your practice has been there for many years, you have a ton of reviews, achieving results is going to be a lot faster. If you're just starting out or nobody has done this correctly for you, it's going to take significant time. However, the investment usually starts paying off, and over time it pays off handsomely. When I say handsome, you will typically, when it starts working well for you, start seeing returns on every dollar that you invest. You're going to get $4 to $7 back. This is the way that you should be thinking about any type of results-focused marketing. So when it comes to organic search or any type of advertising, I always think about what is going to be my return on investment and how do I calculate it as case acquisition cost or client acquisition cost. For various practice areas, and depending on how competitive your geographical market is, you should be investing between 10, 15, 20, and up to 25% into case acquisition. Meaning, if you do not contested divorces in Chicago, where I am, an average case value is about $15,000. This is not a highly competitive market. Yes, there are a lot of lawyers that do family law, but it's not as competitive as PI law in Chicago, where I am just outside of downtown Chicago. If you draw a 5-mile radius around my office, there are 517 law firms that do PI, and a fraction of that do family law. So it's not super competitive, but you will be investing between 12 and 15% of your average case value into acquisition. So if it's 15,000, 12% of it is about $1,800. If you are operating a large business, things would become very formulaic on marketing and sales side. You would know exactly how much you're willing to invest to generate that stream of cash. You should be doing the same thing with your marketing team, figuring out what it is that you're willing to invest into getting those cases. And your marketing team should substantiate whether that is feasible or not. They need to figure out whether they can actually deliver that lead flow that will convert into that case flow at the target case acquisition cost. Again, with SEO, you may not be seeing results for months if you have been doing SEO for some time, quarters if you haven't done SEO very well for some time, or a year and a half, and sometimes 2 years if you're new to this. With pay-per-click advertising and LSA advertising, it takes months to optimize, but within 3 to 4 months, you will start seeing that return of $4 to $7 for every dollar that you put in. Now, what does that return depend on? If you are doing PI in LA or Chicago or New York City or Miami or any other very competitive markets, you're probably going to invest 20 to 25% into case acquisition. And here's some evidence that I've heard from John Morgan, the owner and founder of the largest PI firm in the nation, probably in the world. His firm does $1 billion in revenue, and they invest 16% into marketing and advertising. Arguably, you can say that they don't have to. They're so big, everybody knows them. He has 750 plus attorneys working for him, but they invested 160 million back in 22 last year into marketing and advertising because he knows that he needs to invest that not to lose market share. Smaller firms that do not do $1 billion in revenue need to invest more, or their growth rate will be slow. Let me explain what a slow growth rate looks like. A typical growth rate for professional service companies like law firms is 4.3% per year. Counting on typical inflation rate, annual inflation rate of 2.5% or so, this is not the last 2-3 years. You're barely keeping your head above water. You're growing by like 1.5%, 1.8% per year. A fast growing law firm does 25% per year. Thus, our goal is to help law firms double their revenue in 3 years or less. If you grow 25% per year, 3 years in a row, you will double your revenue. That's all you need to achieve, just 25% growth rate. Now, if you're tiny, if you're a few $100,000 in revenue, you will get there faster. That's a promise. If you do things right in marketing, you will get there faster. If you're larger, if you're already doing a couple $1 million, will probably take you 3 years to double. Now, there is a way to double the speed with which you grow, but now you really, and this is just a side advice. If you're a law firm owner, you still practice law, and you want to double the speed with which you grow, you cannot practice law. You have to become a CEO of your law firm and just focus on growth. Like you have to forbid yourself from practicing law. The most successful law firm owners I've ever met do not practice law. They stopped a long time ago.
Yeah, now you're speaking my language. Because that, I mean, I stand here behind the microphone and on coaching calls with my clients, and you know, really try to highlight to them the importance of building their team and really handing over the reins of all their responsibilities to those people, because that is really the key to growth. Let me ask you a quick question. This is based on everything that you've shared so far, and I know the answer is going to be it depends, but what is the minimum monthly amount that somebody needs to invest to get started with Google advertising with you?
Yeah.
And I'm not putting you on the spot to give a
No,
quote to
no,
somebody.
it's a
What is
perfectly
the
great question.
absolute minimum monthly commitment for somebody to say, okay, I want to get started, but this is all I can afford, and you would still say, yes, I'll take them as a client? What is that number?
So let me tell you what Google unofficially recommends: a
Mhm.
minimum advertising spend, not service fees from having a marketing team work for you, but minimum advertising spend for not PI attorneys is $3,000 a month. If you do not have $3,000 a month to spend on advertising on Google, don't start. Here's why. You have a team working for you and you have a machine working for you. The machine is Google's algorithm that is also self-learning. We're doing human learning, and we're applying machine learning to human learning to optimize campaigns. If you're spending less than $3,000 a month, the machine doesn't learn fast enough. So in fact, you will be spending more money on getting clients if you do not spend at least $3,000 on Google advertising. A proficient team, if they only do pay-per-click advertising campaigns for you, they're probably going to be spending around 10 hours a month working for you. The formula for US-based marketing teams is we have to average at least $150 per hour, per labor hour, to make things work for us. Let me explain what it means to make things work for us. If we're not averaging $150 per hour, we have to resort to cheap labor. Cheap labor is not proficient. Cheap labor fails more often. Cheap labor will be learning on your dime. So here's the formula. If you're hiring a marketing team, do pay-per-click advertising, campaign setup, management, and reporting for you. If they ask you for less than $1,500 a month, rest assured, it will cost you more than if you hire someone for $1,500 a month. That's just the pay-per-click advertising side. If they're
What's the
doing SEO for you, because I
Mhm.
think that would be the next question.
Yeah.
SEO. Oh, let me answer another question that you didn't ask, kind of asked. For PI attorneys,
Hmm.
today, monthly spend on advertising of $5,000 in big markets like LA, Chicago, Miami, etc., $5,000 a month would be considered very small. Cost per click for PI advertising is significantly higher than all other practice areas. So today we would recommend that if you're starting out, $5,000 is a bare minimum. Like we will not take on a client if they're not willing to spend more than five, or at least $5,000. But many would recommend a minimum spend of $10,000 a month or more. And the reason for that is you're going to blow through that advertising budget very quickly, very, very quickly. Like days, yes, it can be spread out over many days, over a whole month, but then your lead flow is going to be trickle, will be very relatively slow. So we don't recommend that. For SEO, SEO is incredibly complex. Google's algorithm for organic search results is incredibly complex. You need to have serious brain power to deliver significant results. And I want to address an earlier question that you asked. How do you know when you're spending money on SEO, whether it's working or it's not working? Somebody can be feeding you the line where it's like, be patient, this will produce. The truth of the matter is that if you have a proficient team with expertly people working for you, they can give you what is referred to in the finance world as key leading indicators. There are key performance indicators or KPIs that everybody knows what they are. And then there are KLIs, key leading indicators. In SEO, there are key leading indicators. If you're just starting out, your key leading indicators should be, here's a list of keywords that we want our website to rank for. When we started out, we're ranking on average on page 10. Every month, I want to see a composite score. It's a score that shows us whether we're advancing or declining in our positions. There should be gradual, it's never linear, but there should be gradual improvement in your positions. We copied a very simple financial ratio that is called advanced decline ratio. It's used for measuring what indexes like S&P 500 or Dow Jones do. If you think about that composite S&P 500, there are 500 stocks in it. Some are advancing, meaning they grow that day, and some are declining. That ratio tells you whether more stocks are advancing or declining. We use it internally as a key leading indicator to tell us whether, if it's above 1, it tells us that more positions are going up. If it's below 1, more positions are declining. So every month we're watching this indicator to tell us instantly whether we're moving in the right direction with the right keywords, stagnating if it's at 1, or declining if it's below 1. It's a very simple formula, and we've never seen any other marketing team use it. But it will tell you instantly if they're succeeding or standing still, or actually things are getting worse.
Now, one thing that you didn't mention is agency cost. So I know
Yes.
that for running PPC, 10 hours, $1,500 a month. Agency cost for SEO, ongoing work on SEO and continuing to get that indicator going up continuously. What does that start at?
So you will typically see teams that know what they're doing charging between $4,000 and $6,000 a month. That is a starting point. If you want to go faster, if you want to see results faster, you will be investing more. And that investment typically goes in the following: creating more content, posting more content on your website and on third-party websites, and creating backlinks from those third-party websites back to your website. Creating content, and you should not be using AI for it, because Google knows when it's produced by a machine versus human, is a significant investment of time, energy, and what ends up to be money. Creating backlinks through third-party websites is a substantial investment of time, energy, and money. This is where a lot of your resources will go. So when clients that want to grow faster come to us, we usually have this discussion. What is it that you want within 12 months? How quickly can we help you get there? And then we frankly tell them that for this budget, you can expect about this. And for that budget, you can expect about that. Now, With pay-per-click advertising, things are very formulaic and they're fairly straightforward. With SEO, they're formulaic, but not as straightforward. And here's why. With pay-per-click advertising, it's formulaic because you know all the data. With SEO, what you do not know is how Google is going to update its algorithm throughout the year. Most people know that Google changes their algorithm a few times per year. The reality is that they change their algorithm daily, multiple times per day, and then there are major algorithm updates 2 to 3 times per year. We do not know what's going to happen, and nobody does. And we do not know what your competition is going to do. So if you have a competitor that all of a sudden got a cash injection of $1 million and they're going to invest that million into SEO this year, and your budget was 50,000, chances are they're going to overtake you in those positions. That said, will it still be worth it for you to invest into SEO? I very rarely see a case where a law firm that is committed to getting to rank in organic search results actually loses money rather than makes money. It's just a matter of making that commitment because it is a commitment. It's not a month, it's not a quarter, and more likely than not, it's not a year, but over time, you're going to see a very substantial return on investment.
Sasha, I really I appreciate you being as candid and as frank as you have been, because this is really something that I have been, as somebody who coaches law firm owners, have been grappling with, having some sort of formula to let them know when they're ready to make a significant investment in Google. And it's not really a question of whether they're ready, because I'm a big believer in investing. Investment comes first and the results come later. So if you're saying, so here's the math. You told me $3,000 minimum ad spend, $1,500 agency fee, $4,000 to $6,000 SEO agency fee. I just rounded up to $10,000. $10,000 a month in ad spend, $120,000 a year. Now, some of you listening to this are like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. You're right. Many of you are not. But if we take $120,000 divided by 0.25, that's the 25% that you said it should be costing off of our revenue that it generates, it's 480,000 in revenue. If we take it divided by 0.15, which is where I, as a business coach and CFO and fractional CFO for law firms, believe that your advertising spend needs to be as off of total revenue, in order for you to be a profitable business at a level that I believe is healthy, 25 to 40%, 30 to 40%. You can't spend more than 15% of your total revenue on marketing. Now, the difference between Sasha's number and my number is that he's ignoring organic business that comes in. I'm not. So you could still have 25% go to paid marketing for the customers that are coming through those marketing channels, as long as you still have other organic leads coming in. That business model still works. If you did divided by 0.15, you have 800,000. So somewhere between 480,000 and 800,000 revenue is where you need to be at to be able to spend $10,000 a month on marketing that's actually doing what it's supposed to and giving you those returns.
100%.
Here's the key takeaway for my listeners. If you are not doing 480,000 to 800,000 in revenue at a minimum, the takeaway here is not when I get there, then I'll be ready. Because you need to be willing to spend $10,000 a month if you want to be an $800,000 firm. And that just means, and this is where my questioning with Sasha was at the beginning, how long does it take? How long do I have to wait for this to happen? SEO is just a piece of it. Pay-per-click, he said 3-4 months. You
Correct.
have to be willing to invest $10,000 a month for a period of time and carry that investment, which just means you need to have the capital. If you have the capital to invest in your business, you can do this. Maybe it's 40,000 in the bank. Maybe it's 60,000. Maybe it's 120,000. Maybe it's a whole 12 months. But at some point, you should start to see results from this. And once you start to see the results, it starts paying for itself. You no longer are carrying it. But if you want to get to $1 million firm, it's not going to happen through referrals. Well, it can happen through referrals, but then you won't get to 2 million through referrals. You have to, at some point, embrace the internet. At some point, you're going to have to do Google advertising, the key is how much am I spending? What is the result I'm expecting from it? And who is the vendor that's going to do it for me? Because at this level, you're not able to bring somebody in-house. You're not able to have a full-time marketer on your staff, but you can bring somebody in who's knowledgeable. And honestly, I'm super impressed with the conversation so far. You didn't say anything spectacular, but at the same time, you embrace the reality of the situation, which so many marketers just gloss over, they don't talk about, or they're just not willing to share. And that is that it takes time. And you won't always get results. And in certain markets, your spend's gonna be too little. Um, and and what will end up happening if you don't spend enough is you'll have wasted your money. And then you're gonna walk around and say it doesn't work
Yeah,
because you didn't offer the algorithm enough juice to get the result you needed.
so true. And I also think about it this way. When most of you went to law school and even undergrad, you didn't have the money to fund that education. You borrowed. Most people, when they start their businesses, they become very conservative about investing because they think about it as spending. Nobody's concerned about investing into their education because we kind of expect a payoff on that. But what I find is that about 10% of attorneys, law firm owners, are incredibly ambitious people. They really want a better life for themselves and for their families. They want better financial future. But then when it comes to investing into the business, people start getting really sheepish. And those who have grown and really built businesses, not practices, but businesses, they're the ones who have invested. One of my favorite, I also operate a podcast. One of my favorite guests told me a story how he started his own family law firm here in Chicago. And he now has something like 27, 28, 29 attorneys working for him. And he started during the Great Recession in 2009 when people were not getting divorces because they couldn't afford to sell their homes that were upside down. And I asked him, well, how'd you do it? And he grew big and fairly fast. And he said, I had a baby and I had another baby on the way. And I told my wife that I'm going to do whatever it takes to succeed at this. He said, I maxed out all of my credit cards. But I knew that I had to bring the business in. He didn't spend it on lavish furniture. He just knew that he had to get business in. So he maxed out his credit cards on marketing and advertising. Jonathan Merrill, he's here in Chicago. He has 4 offices. I believe he is the largest family law firm in Chicago. But from day one, he was like, I'm going to invest whatever it takes to get the business in. John Morgan is
Yeah.
arguably probably not the best personal injury attorney, but what he was best at is spending money on advertising. He was really good at it.
You know, it's really true. And honestly, the big challenge when it comes to growing law firms is not so much the desire to do it. And I mean, you mentioned at the beginning, like if you want to grow super fast, and it really, I don't even think it's about growing fast. I think it's about growing it all. If you really want to grow your firm, you have to extract yourself from being an attorney and become a CEO. And I use this example all the time. Um, and it's this. In Arizona, they have a pilot project right now that a non-attorney can own a law firm. The state of Utah also has a sandbox project right now for non-attorney investors to invest or own a law firm. If I, a non-attorney, were to go to Arizona and say, I'm starting a law firm and name it, create a PLLC and open my doors, right? Who would be the first person I hire? An attorney. So I can't provide legal services if I don't have an attorney on staff. When you, as an attorney, are going to start your law firm, what if that was the mindset you had? What if
Mm,
you started your firm with the mindset of, I need an attorney, and then I need to fill that attorney's plate? Every single solo attorney out there has a maximum that they can earn, and that maximum is somewhere between 250 and 500,000 in revenue, and that is it. But lo and behold, if you hire an attorney and put them on staff and the only thing they're doing is legal work, they can produce somewhere between 800 and 1.5 million at a minimum. How is it possible that they could be so much more of a producer than you as a business owner? It's very simple because that's all they're doing. Clio, in that same 2019 legal trends report, they also said that small law firms, a solo small law firm owner, bills an average of 2.1 hours a day and collects an average of 1.8 hours a day.
Yep.
And it's mind-boggling when we think about that. And if you think about without working an attorney to the bone, if you are a really nice employer and you just let them work normal, minimum 6 hours a day, billable time,
Yep.
with them taking a lunch break and having water cooler time and taking vacations, that's 3 times the amount that you'd be doing on your own. We just did the math. For you to be able to spend $10,000 a month on marketing requires you to be able to do $800,000 of legal work. Guess what? You can't do that yourself. You need an attorney. So the threshold for being able to invest in marketing and actually have a business that's growing and it has predictability to it, predictable clients coming through the door, requires you to have an attorney on staff. So if you're one of the listeners who's a solo, who's trying to figure out how do I grow, you're going to have to find the money to invest in an attorney and in the marketing to fill that attorney's plate. And that is the key to growth. And that is what Sasha has been trying to tell us in the beginning of this conversation, where, hey, I want to help 2,000 law firm owners double their revenue in the next 3 years. Guess what? You hire an attorney and you invest in marketing, you will double your revenue in 1 year. Less than 1 year. And the revenue is not the key number. It's the profitability.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to make a little bit less off every dollar that comes in that an attorney is working. But guess what? You're not the one bringing the case home at night. You get to go home and eat dinner and still make the money. Yeah. So, Sasha, we're out of time, so we have to wrap it up. But what's one thing that we didn't cover, something that our audience needs to hear when it comes to Google advertising, understanding where I took this conversation, which obviously didn't really highlight specifically expertise, but you did a really good job of honing in on the key to marketing is being an authentic marketer, is having people on staff that are knowledgeable, educated, not cheaping out and getting entry-level people who are learning on their client's dime. Aside for what we did cover, what is something that maybe we should have discussed or maybe our audience should know when it comes to specifically your world of Google marketing?
So I think the most important thing is really understanding how to pick the right marketing team for your law firm. The matter is that most of us, when we consume services that we do not regularly shop for, we do not know how to get the right provider. This is applicable to law. Average consumer hires attorney 3 times in their lifetime. This is applicable to medicine. We do not hire specialists all the time. This is applicable to marketing companies. You may have a marketing company on retainer, but it doesn't mean that you can professionally procure services. You really need to understand what it is that you're buying, which you're buying future revenue, and you need to understand what criteria to apply when you're selecting a marketing team to make sure that you pick the best that your dollars can buy. And most law firms, and I'm saying this because vast majority of our clients are not what we refer to as virgin clients. They've been with numerous marketing companies before us. They do not know how to properly select their marketing teams. You need to grill them with questions. I am at $1 million today. I want to hire a marketing team that will help me to get to $1.6 million 12 months from now. Give me a plan, how you're going to do it. Be specific. Show me how you're going to report on key leading indicators and key performance indicators so that I really understand how you're going to do it and what it is that you're going to report to make sure that I'm not wasting my money, but more importantly, I'm not wasting my time, because time is a lot more valuable than the money that you're going to spend on the marketing team on advertising. Most people, most law firm owners, when it comes to buying marketing services and all other professional services, doctors, lawyers, etc., we pick based on whether we can afford the service and whether we like the sales rep. Those two factors are important, but not nearly enough. And that's where a lot of us, and again, applied broadly to just consuming professional services, screw ourselves by not taking the time to understand how we're going to get the results that we're after.
So, Sasha, do you have some sort of guide for law firm owners on questions to ask or how to determine whether somebody can produce the results?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. We actually do. I'll email you a link to that guide.
Okay.
It's a good guide, but you also like when you're looking at the guide, just understand that it's not an everything guide. You need to think for yourself. You want to understand, I always tell people this, you need to know your starting point, your point A and your point B, where you want to be 12 months from now. And you, just like jury at court, need to know beyond any reasonable doubt that the team that you're picking knows how to get you from point A to point B. If you have a doubt, don't hire them yet. You need to have no doubt that they will carry you from point A to point B, because they've been there, done that, and explained to you the plan, how they're going to do it, and how they're going to report to you every single month without a fail. Not send you a report, but actually meet with you and do what we do is performance review meetings every single month with every client, where we go through all of the relevant data in one table, so you can see progression from month 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, so you understand that your money and your time, which is more valuable than money, is not being wasted. It's moving you in the right direction.
Awesome. I love it. Sasha, one of the things that I do when I close out the show is I offer for you to share with our audience how they can learn more about you, your firm, and any, next steps that they can take with you. So wherever you want to send them, if somebody enjoyed our conversation, they're interested in learning more, where should they go?
We have built an amazing automated tool that nobody else has in this industry. It's an automated marketing assessment report on the state of things that are SEO for your law firm. You can go to our website, specifically it's compare.growlawfirm.com. It will tell you in fairly deep detail how your website is performing in the organic search results and how it stacks up against your direct competitors. It's absolutely free. It's instant. Report usually takes less than a minute to generate. It gets data from Google and from other third-party data sources. And for most people who look at it, it just blows their mind, because this is something that usually requires a very, very deep dive with marketing companies to understand. But here it's done without the salesperson present, and you can do it whenever you want to. It took my development team 2 years to build it. It's very sophisticated, very, very sophisticated. Compare.growlawfirm.com.
Awesome, Sasha. Thank you. We're going to link that up in the show notes. The show notes are available in the description of your podcast player, as well as on our website, profitwithlaw.com. Just redid our website, so you want to go to the free resources section where you'll find our podcast as well as our YouTube channel for additional content that's not here on the podcast. We'd love to have you as a subscriber, both here and there. We bring amazing, intellectual, smart people who are going to help you with growing your firm, growing your life. And we bring them here every single week with these amazing interviews. We're excited for the next one that's going to be coming up next Thursday. So every Thursday we release a new interview. And Sasha, thank you very much for your time and being here and sharing with us. Really, really love the conversation. So check out his business at growlawfirm.com. And if it's for you, then definitely get in touch with him. If you're trying to figure out how you can grow your firm in the way that I described on this podcast, you're ready to make that transition from 300,000 to a million, or you're trying to go from 2 million to 10 million, we have something for you. We have for the lower level, 300,000 to a million, we have a group coaching program. From a million plus, we do fractional CFO services. We can help you navigate the other side of it. We can help you navigate the business side of it to help you figure out how you can employ somebody like Sasha's company to come in and solve the marketing side of your problem, and also to help you with creating the full-fledged plan of how you're going to not only grow. I get excited about doubling your revenue in 3 years. I get excited about doing it even faster than that. What I don't get excited about is when you do it and there's nothing left for you at the end of the day. So if you want to double your revenue and have a 30 to 40% profit margin, then definitely you want to talk to my team and see how we can help you with one of these programs. And you can do that by just booking a call in the How to Work With Us section of our website. Check it out at profitwithlaw.com. Folks, until next week, we can't wait to have you tune in to the Profit with Law podcast once again next Thursday. Take care. Have a wonderful day.